welcome to the channel, welcome to the garage. Today's mission, wheel bearings and brakes on the back of this old series Land Rover. I've done the other side. Judging by that, this brake drum's going to be a total pig to take off. I ended up having to use a bit of heat and everything. It was seized onto the hub. It had not been done for a long time. There's two types. There's two setups with the shaft. One has a split pin. I think there's only two anyway. One has not a split pin, a circlip. One has a castellated nut and a split pin going through it. That's pretty much on these series. That's the only differences you're really going to find on them. Yeah, it's just a case of bear with it with these brake drums. Sometimes they wear, like the other side. I'm going to get a pair of new brake drums for it. The other side, it's got such a lip inside it, it's not worth messing around with. So I'll get a new set of drums on it. Get them ordered later today. Yeah, I'll finish my brew and I'll crack on. Right, guys. Almost failed at the first hurdle here, trying to get this drum off because it's seized solid. But there's a screw, or a threaded hole further around. This one's not good. It's took me ages to find a bolt that go in it. Normally, every one I've ever done, it's been the same thread as the grub screw that holds it together. And you can screw it in and it just pushes it off. But this one, it's going to take some thumping, so this might get loud. Got a bolt just landed in the oil tub. Got a bit of pressure on it with that bolt. Failing that, if this doesn't work, then I'll have to get some heat on it, I think. Because this does not want to move at all. Careful when you're hitting it not to hit the threads. If you're a bit unsteady with a hammer, you can just put the wheel nuts back on. That has not moved anywhere at all. Right, I'll get my burner on it and get some heat around it. Back in a second. Right, literally a few minutes with the heat. Can't touch it now. Big screwdriver in there, that might just hold it. Well, that's all it took. A few minutes with heat was all it needed, really. The brake part, don't forget the adjusters on the back. Some actually slacken the adjusters off. Quite often you'll find they're seized up, so it's wise to get round there the day before, plenty of penetrating fluid on it, or soak it with some diesel or something like that, because that's the only thing that's holding that on there is them brakes. Yeah, looking at the state of that, that's well foobarred in there. So what I'm going to do is, because the wheel cylinder's getting changed, so we'll unbolt that. Careful not to burn yourself, because this is now all, the brake drum's hot. Which is quite a pleasant thing, really. Seems as though it's like -1 outside. And getting colder by the bloody minute as well, by the feel of things. Right. It's freed up the wheel cylinder anyway, so it should pull a whole lot off now. That does not want to come off. Right, I see. The adjuster is now hooked on the spring that holds the brake shoes together. Well, it does not want to come off, this one. Got some stubborn in my time, but these ones are an absolute nightmare. Just watch out, because it's on quite a bit of tension. You don't want it to pop off and smack you in the nuts while you're sat there. See if I can... It's just hooked, the lip inside's just hooked on the brake shoes. What I'm trying to do is see if I can get the brake shoes to come with it so far. Careful not to bend this back plate. She's an awkward one. Right, I'll battle with this. This is going to take me a while, so I'll battle with this and I'll come back to you when it's off. Well, that was a total and utter nightmare. That just took ages. But what's happened is, as you see in there, it's all rusted up, and you get that lip there, just enough to catch the brake shoes, and they did not want to let go. Luckily, I was able to. The brake lines were cut, so I didn't think anything of it. I thought all the pressure would be out there. I undid the bleed nipple, and it just let that little bit of pressure out, and just get it enough then, just to get it out. But wow, what a total nightmare that was. These wheel cylinders are toast. They're going in the scrap. Not much point messing around with them, you just chuck them. New ones are easily available now. What I always do as well, I always have a bucket. Everything I take off, even if it's scrap, will go in the bucket until it's rebuilt. You've always got your references then. Let's get this spring off. Long nose pliers somewhere around here. I have them already. Everything's gone flying. They're over there. Take the spring off. That can go in there. There's another spring on the back of these, but I have to take that retainer off the bottom. It's not 10mm. We need old money. I think it's 3/8. There's two nuts under there, 2 bolts under there, or screws. You need to undo them. Well, bother shut. Oh, the head's just come straight off that one. That saves some messing around. Just take a note. Take pictures on where things were when you took it off, or. Yeah, what you've got underneath is that, with two bolts in there. 3/8 they are. The new ones are usually 10mm. In the bucket. Watch the spring not hit you in the face. And that's the brake shoes off. Wow. Keep that spring. Yeah, you can see the grooves on there. The drums knackered. So I will put it on temporarily for now, and I'll order some some new ones. Oh dear, this is beginning to be hard work. This. There's nothing to me to suggest that these wheel bearings are no good, but it has been sat for a long while, and yeah, for what they cost, just crack on and get them done. I'm rebuilding the whole thing. I want it done right. C-clip off the end of there. Let's get this flange off. What a good word, flange. Everything in the bucket. Impact gun makes so much easier work of it. Just a few light taps on there. Yeah, I forgot my oil bucket. You will more than likely get a bit of oil drop out. That's your drive flange off. Yeah, it's well worth changing. It's really grotty and horrible. All the oils are just absolutely knackered. Brown, proper dirty, watery brown. So it's not worth messing around with. Just change it. Right, now we need to get these flats off this big nut. Well, it's one flat on it. Best thing for that is usually a screwdriver. Let's see if I can move you in a bit closer so you can actually see what's whatting. All you need to do is get it up enough. Don't reuse these. These are single use, so don't worry about damaging it. And if you're going to do, when you order your parts, order a bloody big socket. One big ass knot. So even these for now, everything gets chucked in that bucket. Whoa, nearly ended up in my oil tub. So you got two of them, you got a nut. Oh, that ended up in my oil tub. So you've got a nut, you've got a locking tab, then you've got a spacer with a notch in it. And then you've got your, oh yeah, your slightly rusty looking, corroded, you know what, I'm an idiot. I've just brought a box of gloves. I've got that used to not having any, because I've not been able to get hold of any. I completely bloody forgot. Yeah, bearing, everything goes in there. Look at that, see the water in it. Well, you probably can't, but I can. That's just water dripping out of there. Yeah. Right, in the bucket. I'll get a rag, clean my hands up, clean this up. don't think any of that rust on there is terminal. I think it's just residue off the where the rusty bearing's been sat. I'll give it a wipe up and yeah, see how it goes. Let's have a look at this half shaft. Right, let's have a... Just looking for signs, so if I get you in the camera it might help. Any signs of wear, you make sure that they're even. If there's any sort of grooves in there where it's obviously worn away, then it needs replacing. And if you look, I don't know if you see it on there, you could just see a shiny patch there where the contact patch. So what you're looking for is even wear all the way around, so it's even all the way. That looks alright to me. Slot it in. There's no actual wear, there's no play at that end, so yeah, I'm happy to reuse that. Right, I'll get myself cleaned up, get some rubber gloves on, because I'm a tit. Right, normally I do this on the bench in there, but thumping around it makes too much noise, so you're not going to hear me. Need to get this rear wheel bearing out. There's two bearings on these hubs, one at the front, one at the back. So when you're buying, you need to make sure you get the seal with it, and then the bearing just lifts out. You can see just the mucky rusty water in there. It's no good. And then you need to get the bearing race out. The best way I've found to do this, because you've got a little lip inside, just inside there, you'll see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, there's a little lip, so you need to get in and take that out, but careful not to score the inside of the actual hub. So yeah, the best way I've found is with a decent sized screwdriver and a thumb hammer, and just go around evenly all the way around it. Might take you a couple of minutes just to knock it out. That last little bit, it comes out. You have to just put it on its side, because obviously it's when that's sat flush, it can't come out, and that's it. That's what you want out. I'm not worried about the dirt and stuff on the floor right now. When it comes to putting it back together again, that's when you worry about it. So that's that one out, and then the other way around, do exactly the same on the other side. I know there's plenty of videos on YouTube doing bearings and oil seals and stuff like that, but I thought I'll just do another one. Saves, I'm doing it anyway. I thought I could do a full, more or less everything I do on the whole Land Rover, so it can take a bit of time to get back on my chair. I'm going to hold it with my feet then. If you wanted to, if you had the tool, and you could press it out, but there, it's starting to go now. Once it starts going, they tend to just pop out. Right. Oh, I can smell the dirty old burnt oil and grease. Right, that's it, that's them now. Now all I need to do is clean it all up, get some brake cleaner in there. Now it says when you're doing it, you see the face inside there, you've got to make sure you don't score that face or anything. And I'll get this on the bench and then I'll clean it up, get this on the bench and then put new bearings in. Right, time to press the new racers in. Make sure they're all cleaned. I've cleaned the whole, all inside the hub with brake cleaner. Make sure there's nothing in there that's going to cause any future problems. That all I have to do is just give it a quick spray with WD-40 because it just disappears into the atmosphere rather quickly. And then you need a press is ideal for this. You can buy tools, which is basically a big bolt that goes through and it pulls it in. But you're fine. They're fine for the job. If there's no point in buying a press if all you're going to do is the occasional wheel bearing. Make sure that's all square on there. Somebody asked me the other day, commented the other day asking about mandrels for this SGS press, because SGS don't actually sell any. That's just confirmed. You'll know as soon as it goes firm that it's seated in. Yeah, SGS don't sell any, and there's no hole in the bottom of there or any provisions for slotting anything in or out like that. You can pull that end off there, but you're not going to achieve anything by it. But what I've got is, I brought this quite a few years ago for, at the time I needed it for doing ball joints on a classic Beetle. It's coming useful. You could do a lot of things with it. You could probably even use it for pressing the bushes into the chassis for the spring hangers. But yeah, it's been absolutely invaluable for doing stuff like this, and it works perfect on there. So I think it was about, I don't know, they brought it off eBay as well, and I brought it quite a few years ago. I think it was only about £45, so well worth it. Just check that the bearing's seated evenly, the race is seated evenly all the way around. And you flip over to the other side. Make sure you keep your bearings as well while you're doing this. Make sure you keep them somewhere clean. Quick squirt of that first. Just helps it slide down a little bit easier. Put that on there. This press has really been earning its money since I've had it. You'll think as well, if you've got a full Land Rover that you're going to rebuild, it could be worth buying one of these. Yeah, it's a couple £100. I can't remember the price exactly off the top of my head, but the resale value isn't much less than that. So once you've done with it, you can sell it on and make most of your money back. But it just makes life so much easier doing jobs like this. If you're keeping the Land Rover for a lifetime, then yeah, wheel bearings don't last very long sometimes, especially if you've got off-road tyres on, big knobbly like Insta turbos and stuff like that. Yeah, that's seated in properly, seated in nicely. Flush on the lip inside it. Right, let that pressure off of there all the way up. Let's go back out to the bench. I'm trying to keep this video as short as I can, but to get everything in, it's got to be as long as it's got to be. I'll put the back bearing in first, because that's the bearing that has the oil seal, so that'll keep it in while you go take it over and put it back on the stub axle. Some bearing grease. And get the little lid off. The bearing, you'll see on the bearing it's you've got a big gap at the back, so just want to push the grease in through there. And hopefully you push it through enough, it will come out the top. Make sure you go all the way around. So I do apologise if you can't actually see what I'm doing. Concentrating that hard, it's getting cold now. As you push it through, you'll see it come between the rollers. Gloves are highly recommended with this. If you don't, you will end up with really soft skin, so it's not always bad. Takes a couple of minutes, don't rush it. The garage I worked at for a short while when I was a kid had a press that was I'm not 100% sure how it worked, but they made a press up because they were doing bearings all the time. This was back in the 90s, when bearings like this were still used. A lot of bearings now, they're sealed, but yeah, it was a regular thing. It was virtually every day I was doing wheel bearings, and you literally put it in there, put the bearing in there, pump the handle, and it pressurizes inside and completely packs the bearing with grease. I've never ever seen one since. Never seen anybody use one since. Right, give that a good coating. Sorry, I'm rambling again here. Drop it in. Any spare grease you've got on your hand, just pack it in around the top. It's a messy job, it really is a messy job. You need plenty of rags. Pop your seal on. Just push it in so far by hand, as far as it'll go. Then you need, I've left it over here, something that will just sit nicely on top of it, but not catch that this little spring that's inside there. So make sure that's seated on square there. Rubber hammer. And just seat that in there like that. Doesn't have to go all the way to the bearing, it just goes just inside there. You can always pack a bit more grease in if you want to, but that should be fine now. Like, just to make sure it's all just not packed in solid, but just so there's a bit of loose grease between the bearing and the seal. Right, got to slot that back on the stub axle and get it built back up. Right, I've packed the other bearing, slotted that in, exactly the same as the other side, so there's much point filming it. Then you need your spacer, your big washer. Pop that on. And your big nut. Giving all these a good clean down. Now what you'll find is because you've put all fresh grease in there and you've got the new seal on, there'll be quite a bit of resistance, and it's not just going to, you're not just going to push it and it carries on spinning. There'll be quite a bit of resistance there. I like to tighten it up a bit, just as much as you can by hand. Back it off. Just move it just that little bit, then just pull it back out that little bit and tighten it back up again. It just seats everything in then. Still quite a bit of play on that. Because of everything's so greasy I can't grip it. There's a big screwdriver. Right. Make sure it's you want it so there's no extra resistance on there, but there's also no movement on the hub. It's not mega tight at all. I can literally undo it by hand. And you'll know if you undo it, there'll be no extra. It won't feel any looser or anything like that. So that's just because of the rubber seal, the resistance from the rubber seal and the fresh grease. Right. Put your new retaining washer on there. And your oven nut. This one again you don't need to do up mega tight. You just need to do it just tight enough. And watch inside, make sure that when you do tighten this one up, you're not moving the oven nut inside there. And that's it. Knock the flats back on the washer. We'll do that now. I'll find where my hammer's gone. I've had it in place there. Look, absolutely covered in bloody grease. Try and look in so you can see the flats inside there. And don't do it with a sharp screwdriver or chisel or something like that. You want to do it with a blunt on the wall. Or you end up just splitting it. This what I use all the time. It's perfect because it's enough. You can just hammer it in there. It don't quite reach the bearing, but it'll sandwich that down. And on the opposite side, make sure you're doing it on one of the flats of the nut. On the opposite side, you need to bend the tab, same as that, but coming this way, so it locks both nuts together. Right, and you need your flange, and that's it. That's pretty much your bearings done. If all you're doing is bearings and you're not touching the brakes, this is obviously having your brake shoes on it. You don't need to touch any of that. You can just undo all this, leave the brake shoes, the wheel cylinder, everything where it is, providing you can get the drum off, and you don't have the total palaver that I had. I need to go and clean this flange up. It's got the old gasket on there. Bolt that up, clean both surfaces, You have a little gasket. So I'll do all that and then I'll come back in a minute. Right guys, I've put the flange back on. Don't forget your clip on the end of there. What I tend to do is pull the shaft out, put the flange over it, put the clip on, and then put it all together and bolt it up. Because otherwise you'll bolt it up and your drive shaft will disappear down there and you'll be struggling to get it out again, so it's just easier that way. I'm just putting the brake cylinder in. When I can find me ratchet. Always annoys me, these are Delphi cylinders. But it doesn't matter what brand you get, it always annoys me, they never send new nuts with it. And the nuts are quite often, especially if they've been on there for years, they're quite often knackered. It's quite an important thing, you don't want your wheel cylinder falling off. They end up spending half an hour around the garage trying to find some bloody nuts to fix it because I can't. Because of Corona, I've not been able to get down to my local supplier as he's shut up. Right, that's that tightened on there. Don't forget to put lock washers on. Right, brake shoes. They're quite obviously, that little bit there, that pin that sticks out there, that's to go on your adjuster, and it's got a groove in it that your spring latches onto. And you've got two springs, you've got a short one and a long one. The long one goes on the top. It's got that semicircle bit there that goes into the it's like a big pin bit that sticks out the bottom. You slot that on, spring that way round, and it sits just behind the adjuster. So slot that on the bottom there, slot that on there. It's a little bit fiddly. Pair of long nose pliers. Obviously, it goes without saying, if you're I'll spin that round a bit so it slots in. If your springs are excessively worn, replace them. They're only pennies. These are perfectly fine. And you will drop it several times, no doubt, especially if you've never done it before. You'll be firing springs off across the workshop or the garage. That slots in there nicely. Other side, a little bit more tricky, because you've got to get this spring now hooked onto that one, like so. Again, the spring sits behind them. And you've got to get it onto this one, like so. And that's gone on easy, surprisingly. It's not quite hooked on properly. We get the pliers in there. Spring's not quite hooked round all the way. So I get the pliers in. Oh, you little bugger. There we go. There we go. Turn that round, make sure your brake shoe can slot in there. And all's good. Then you've got your little retainer on the back, take a note of which way it goes. With these Fairmont ones you get two screws, but what I've found is the threads are really crap that it goes into on the actual brake shoe itself. A couple of times it's knocked the thread, but the old screws, which is a different coarser thread, they will go in there and hold it just as well if the thread knackers up with these little buggers. So you put it round. It's really self-explanatory where it goes. Go on, you little bugger. That on there. 10mm spanner. Just get them, make sure they're both seated in before you tighten one down. Don't tighten one all the way down and then try and force the other one in. Get them both in loose and then the job's a good one. If you pop that, there's a little thing in the brake pipe on the back. If you pop that out, sometimes you get away with it, sometimes you don't. If you pop it in, no, it's not going to do it on this one. It'll hold, the vacuum will hold it all together. Right, that's in there. Double checking everything. That's in there. That's where it needs to be. I'll move that adjust around because that's not fully slack. There we go. Make a slot your brake drum on. Right, that's as far as I'm going to go with that. I will just slot the drum back on, but yeah, like I said, I'm going to have to buy some new drums, and I've just realised I'm absolutely filthy. Freezing cold, filthy, hungry. You can see the breath. Yeah, it's cold weather, doesn't do you any good. Right, yeah, make sure just go over everything, double check everything. This all will be, this flange will come off at some point, again. But I just need to get this rolling so I can get the brakes done and everything. It'll come off again so it can be cleaned and painted properly. But I needed to get all the brake lines in. And what I'll do is, I'm not going to mix up a load of paint, put it through the gun, just for 2 flanges and hubs. I'll wait until I've got a bulk of bits to do and I'll paint them all at the same time. Yeah, don't forget, use axle stands. You're not going to cheat death for long. I've also left the jack under there as well, just a bit of extra safety on there. Yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe if you want to see more. The next video I'll do will be fitting the engine. The engine's ready to go in, and then the video after that will be the front swivels completely rebuilt, and then hopefully after that it'll be the first start of the engine once everything's together. Because what I need to do is turn, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it because I haven't got a lot of room outside. I've got my Mark II Golf out there plus other bits all over the place. I could do a turning it round so the back end and the exhaust. Yeah, I don't know why that my camera just cut off then. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Anything in particular you want to see, just let me know. Advice is always free. Yeah, check us out on Instagram as well. I do put a few pictures on Instagram. CSM_retro_restorations. And yeah, see you soon, guys. Thanks a lot.